Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. I want to give double honors unto the apostles and elders who I learned this truth from. I want to say peace, mercy, and blessings unto all of the hopeful elect. The true name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh, which means He exists, or He is to be. The true name of the Son is Yahweh Shai, which means He is the deliverer. We are the Hebrew Israelites, and there's 12 tribes. Today we're being called by bywords and proverbs to mock us and to hide who we truly are. You know, the Israelites, the Hebrews, of the 12 tribes. So to hide that, we're being called Black, African American, Colored, Negro, Native American, Seminole Indian, Latin, Hispanic, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, etc. Right? The self-proclaimed white men, so-called European, Caucasian, their biblical nationality is Esau, Edom, Mount Seir. And according to Bible prophecy, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. And we're living in the times of Esau, and we're finally seeing these prophecies come to fruition. So this is from the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, and verse 1. It says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer, what I improve. So the prophets, are on a spiritual watch. This ain't the ancient world where you have a, castle, fortress, and you got men on top of the castle walls watching over. But the prophets are doing that spiritually while watching the news and measuring the time diligently and filtering it through the scriptures. 2 and 2. And the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. So the Lord always told his men to write it in the book. And it's plain if the Holy Spirit, the Rakah Kodash, is with you, if Yahweh Shai is supping with you. All right? Because we can clearly see. All right? Verse 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. And that's what we're seeing. All right, this is from End Time Headlines. U.S. drops bombs, all right, on Persia. Babylon is officially at war. And there have been threats that if you jump in this, there's a fight. Two people are fighting, all right, and somebody else jumps in. So they jump to one guy. And then before you know it, it's just a brawl, So that's what's about to happen in the Middle East, okay? The nations are getting ready to be gathered over there for a huge, all right, nuclear showdown, man, nuclear brawl. Wait, actually. This is from the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3 and verse 8, NIV. Therefore wait for me, declares the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai. For the day I will stand up to testify. I have decided to assemble the nations, to gather the kingdoms, and to pour out my wrath on them, all my fierce anger. The whole world will be consumed by the fire of my jealous anger. Okay, now that doesn't mean the whole world is going to be just destroyed, right? But the whole Babylon the Great is going to be destroyed by nuclear fire, and the Holy Land is going to get hit up too. NLT, therefore be patient, says Yahweh Shem Shai. That's right, we ain't in the storm in the castle spirit trying to take up arms and trying to take Esau down cornerly. The Lord says, be patient. I will stand and accuse these evil nations, starting with Esau, Edom. In Psalms 83, the rest of them that have aligned themselves with him, right? For I've decided to gather the kingdoms of the earth and pour out my fierce anger and fury on them. All the earth will be devoured at the fire of my jealousy. Now, what's happening in the Middle East, this is going to draw in other nations to get involved, all right? The U.S. military conducted airstrikes on Persia's nuclear facilities in Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan on Sunday morning, local time, Mr. Trump announced, right? Which you got to think, if you're in the Middle East, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, so they're hours ahead of us here in the west. We're hours behind them. Okay, so in the west, this would have happened earlier Saturday. All right, Trump's or mid-evening Saturday, right? Trump's decision to intervene directly in support of Amalek's, the least of the flock, should I say, effort to dismantle Persia's nuclear program marks a historic escalation in the Middle East. It's gonna become way more historic. It's an intervention fraught with risk and uncertainty, one that Trump and many of his predecessors have sought to avoid, including diplomacy with Persia. The attack, which came on the ninth of the unprecedented war between Persia and Amalek, could provoke retaliation from Tehran against U.S. troops and military installations across the region. An Israeli official said Amalek was notified by the Trump administration in advance of the U.S. strikes in Persia. What they're saying, we have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Persia, including Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. All planes are now outside of Persian airspace, Trump wrote on his Truth Social account. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site. Fordow, he continued referring to Persia's most fortified uranium enrichment facility. There's not another military in the world that could have done this. See, that's the pride of Esau, right? That's his pride, because the Lord did bless him with the sword. That's his blessing, and he's proud of it. This is Genesis 27 and 40. I'll get right to the point. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So this is, when Jacob went in and supplanted Esau out the birthright. Esau cried and begged for a blessing, and his blessing was to live by the sword, right? So that's what he's doing, all right? And with a sword, you make war, you bring destruction, mass death, right? That's exactly what he's doing. This is Revelation chapter 6 and verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red, all right? Now, horses represents, dealing with power, and the fact that he's red links this man on the horse, all right, to Esau, Edom. Meaning Esau is in a power seat, okay? This is Ecclesiastes 10, verse 7. I have seen servants upon horses, right, and princes walking as servants upon on the earth. So right now, Esau is supposed to be the servant, right? Now we know that because we got to go back to the story of what was told unto Rebecca, part of the prophecy, man. So we know Esau is that servant. This is Genesis 25 and verse 23. I'll get right to the point. And the Lord, Yahweh Shem El Shaddai, said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. Okay? And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And these 2 nations were the nation of Esau, Edomites, and the nation of Israel. All right, and they've been at war since the womb. And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment. They call his name Esau. It's the father of the Edomites. Esau is Edom, right? Amalek comes from Edom, right? The self-proclaimed white people, they go back to Edom. Hell, the rabbis over there in the land of the Holy Land, they call these American so-called whites, Caucasians, they call them Esau. And they link America with the modern-day Rome, right? And after that came his brother out, And his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Yaquab, or Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she buried him. So that's the story of Esau and Jacob. We know Jacob's name was changed into Israel after he wrestled with an angel. The point I wanted to make, that servant Esau has now been put on the horse. He's been put on the power seat. And the princess, which that's what Israel means, he's a prince with God, has been put in the position of a servant, a slave, right? Because in the ancient world, you know, the people in power would be on the horse, but then behind them, you have the servants walking, and that's how it was in hardcore chattel slavery. They show you that in the movie Django Unchained and various other slave movies, right? Revelation 6 and 4, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. So that's Esau. He's the one in the power seat. He's a servant that's been put in the position of power for a season, right? And that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. So that goes, you know, into his really the greatest sword you can have right now, because the knowledge, the information, the weaponry has far increased its nuclear capability. And we know the nation that possessed the most advanced nuclear capability is Russia, all right? And we know the nation with, superior air force, things of that. Hell, now they even got a space force. That's Babylon. But the Lord gave them that for a reason. For what? The war in heaven, right? So back in this article, we ain't gonna be no peace, man, right? It says, a full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site for, although we continue referring to Persia's most fortified uranium-enriched facility. There's not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. In the days leading up to the strike, Trump and his team became increasingly convinced that diplomacy has run its course and that military action would be necessary to eliminate Persia's nuclear program. The president publicly announced on Thursday that he would make a decision in the next 2 weeks to give Persia a final chance to negotiate, but preparations for the strike accelerated over the weekend. Multiple B-2 stealth bombers capable of carrying 30,000-pound bunker busters were detected heading west across the Pacific on Saturday, as speculation mounted that the U.S. would strike for, though Trump had publicly questioned Amalek's capacity to take out the underground facility on its own, saying Friday they can break through a little section, but they can't go down very deep. So they have so what they're saying is what's happened is that they have officially been drawn out. Starting with apostles and elders, we've been reading this prophecy for, they've been reading this prophecy for decades, man. This is Jeremiah 50, verse 45. Therefore hear ye the counsel of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai that he had taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he had proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. Now the least of the flock is Amalek. All right? The least of the flock, okay, is these people, man. Right? From New York Times. Trump's claimed success after key Persian nuclear sites. All right? So that's the least of the flock. And they have, I'll read it again. Jeremiah 50:45. Therefore he the counsel of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai they had taken against Babylon, that's the west, and his purposes that he had proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. And that's what happened. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. This is going to escalate, and that's the Third World War. It's going to draw in all nations. Just like the Lord said, my determination is to gather all nations. It's that 11. Let's see. Revelation 11 and 14. Yep. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. It's going to result in the destruction of both these nations. The difference is that The Holy Land is going to be rebuilt back up so that the Israelites can rule it. This land, the West, Babylon, is never going to be inhabited again. Right? This is another article from End Time Headlines. Persia says U.S. involvement in Amalek conflict would be very dangerous for everybody in new grave warning. Persia's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi delivered a grave warning to the U.S., cautioning that its involvement in the ongoing Lisa Flock Persian conflict will be very, very dangerous for everybody. The statement reported by Time underscores the escalating tensions in the Middle East as Amalek and Persia continue to exchange deadly strikes, raising fears of a broader regional war. The current conflict intensified on June 13, 2025, when Amalek launched Operation Rising Lion, targeting multiple Persian nuclear and military sites. The Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, justified the strikes as necessary to curb Persia's nuclear capabilities, which they perceive as an existential threat. Persia retaliated with missile and drone attacks, leading to a cycle of violence that has claimed lives on both sides. According to Time, the conflict has resulted in rising death tolls, with Persia reporting significant civilian casualties, and Lisa Flock confirming civilian deaths from Persian missile strikes. Araghchi's warning came amid speculation about U.S. involvement with Persia, claiming meeting indications that the U.S. has been complicit in Amalek's actions since the conflict's onset. The U.S. has officially denied direct involvement in the strikes, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio describing Amalek's actions as unilateral. However, reports suggest some of the coordination, as Amalek informed the Trump administration of its plans, and Babylon evacuated embassy staff from the region the day before initial strikes. So they were saying they didn't want to get involved, but now they're involved. Okay? And now what's going to happen? Other nations are going to get involved. Okay? Nations like Pakistan, North Korea, Russia, China, those nations actually possess nukes. Okay, it's an article from Natural News. This is another thing we got to pay attention to. Persia threatens Strait of Hormuz closure amid blanket conflict, risking global oil price surge. So don't be surprised this happens. Because this could very well be the next thing. Global oil price is going to go up. But this is the article I wanted to dive into a little bit from naturalnews.com. Gog and Magog warns the U.S. that military intervention in Persia-Amalek conflict risk nuclear catastrophe. Russia warns the U.S. against military interventions in the blank conflict, calling it an extremely dangerous step with unpredictable consequences. Putin engages in high-stakes diplomacy, urging de-escalation while defending Persia's nuclear program under international law. Trump denies plans for military action. Well, now remember, they already drawn out. They already attacked. They already jumped in. But reports suggest the U.S. has considered joining Israeli strikes on Persian nuclear sites. Russia raises alarms over Israeli attacks on Persia's nuclear facilities, warning of a potential Chernobyl-style disaster at the Bushehr plant. Moscow's push for peace is partly self-serving, aiming to protect its regional influence and economic interests while avoiding direct conflict with the U.S. The Middle East stands on the brink of a catastrophic escalation as Russia issues a strong warning to the U.S. against military intervention and the intensifying conflict between Persia and Amalek. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova declared that any U.S. involvement would be an extremely dangerous step with truly unpredictable negative consequences, urging Washington to step back from the precipice of war. with President Vladimir Putin engaged in high-stakes diplomacy, reaching out to Israeli, Iranian, and U.S. leaders. Moscow is pushing for de-escalation while simultaneously defending Persia's nuclear program under international law. Meanwhile, Trump has dismissed reports of planned military action, leaving the world wondering whether Babylon will be dragged into yet another disastrous foreign entanglement. So it's already, it's happening. Okay, and it's all according to the plan of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. The Most High is working on the minds of these leaders, these modern day kings. All right. This is Proverbs 21 and verse 1. The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. All right. And that's why the Most High turned their heart to get in. And now that they're drawn out, it's going to draw in other nations, because you have to understand that Russia is a guard unto these nations. They have interests, right? Ezekiel 38 and 1, and the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushua came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, that's Russia, to keep Prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, because they play a huge role in this prophecy. And no, they're not going to rule, all right? When this thing happens, the Most High is going to put down all rule and authority. I believe it says that in Corinthians. This is 1 Corinthians 15 and 24. Then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to the Most High, even a Father, when he shall put down all rule and all authority and power. So, no, they're not. There's not going to be a time when the Russians just got shit popping. All right? Once this happens, and the Lord allows you outside, it's going to be an everlasting Israelite kingdom. Okay? All right? Ezekiel 38 and 3. Thus said Yahweh Shem Yahushua, power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, 4. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. Again, the Most High is in control of these militaries. The Most High mustered the host of the battle. And I will bring thine fort and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. They're going to be armed to the teeth with all type of advanced modern warfare weaponry. All right? Big-ass guns, exoskeleton suits, X-ray vision light goggles, all of that. We're in the future. And the military always has the most advanced technology. All right? The public gets it later. Ezekiel 38 and 5, Persia, that's Iran. Ethiopia, different Hamite African nations going to get involved. And Libya, Ishmael, right? All of them with shield and helmet. 6 Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togam off the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. 7, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Okay? So that's the spirit that's on Gog and Magog, is to be a guard. So they're going to have to get involved, right? This is Luke 12 and 49. I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? 51. Suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth? I tell you, nay, but rather division. There ain't going to be any peace. The Most High wants fire. He wants this shit to get it cracking, okay, so the Israelites can rule. There's going to be a trading of places, like that Eddie Murphy movie. Okay, I'll get one more precept and end it. The second Esdras chapter 6 and verse 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting of some of the times, or when shall be the end of the first and beginning of it that followed? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. We just read that, right? 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. And it's a beautiful thing to see the end. Okay? Better is the end of a thing than the beginning, right? This is Sirach 25:7, which I don't know why I went to John. Sirach 25:7. There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue, a man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. Okay? So, hey, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Pray this lesson has been edifying and faith boosting. I want to say shalom to the hopeful elect.